All right, guys, let's dive right into the center of that fire and discuss today's hot topic. And the topic of the day is, why do so many men feel lost or like imposters? I've had the privilege, the honor, the luxury, the opportunity to work with well over 10,000 men over the past 10 years since the inception of Man on Fire. And it is painful, and it is sad, and it is alarming how many men actually feel lost. How many men actually feel like a fraud or a phony or an imposter or a liar, feeling like they've lacked integrity in their life, feeling like they didn't access their potential, feeling like they've let other people down, looking at a man in the mirror and not really knowing who they're seeing, or perhaps seeing a man and not liking who they're seeing. And we discussed this on the last series, the last module in our podcast, where we went deep into the map and the model that was handed to a man is broken. We were told, go to school. We were told, get the good grades. We were told, get the good job, go back to school, get an even better job, make all the money, have the house, have the wife, have the kids, have the cars, have the vacations. And we were told that that would put an eternal smile on their face that nobody could wipe away. And what a lie, what a farce, what BS. There are millionaires, there are billionaires, and there are countless men every single day, sadly, that are taking their lives. Why is it that we feel so lost? Why do we feel like imposters? And why is it that when we look deeply into the mirror, there's this image that we want other people to see us as, but the image that we're seeing is one of regret. The image that we're seeing is one of confusion. The image that we're seeing is one of feeling like a fake or a fraud or a phony. Why does that happen? We have this thing in between our two ears, inside this skull of ours called our mind. And in the Man on Fire world, we call it the pirates. For some of you, you might call it the devil or Satan or the darkness or the shadow. Some of us might refer to it as the saboteurs. We have this voice that lives inside of our head. And that voice has one agenda and one job only, and it is to bring you down. It is to bring you into a world of negativity. It is to make you feel like you are not enough. That voice is there 24/7. It's up before you in the morning, and it's right there, right when you're going to bed. It brings you all your problems, the dilemmas, all the things that will weigh you down, put weight on your shoulders, have the 10,000-pound gorilla on your back. That voice will never go away. It's negative Nell. He's there all the time. It's the pirates. It's the saboteurs. And all they want to do is talk you out of a more grand life. All they want to do is remind you that you're not good enough. All it wants to do is tell you that you're a loser, you're a fake, you're a phony, you're a fraud, you're not lovable, you're not worthy. You should be isolated and feel alone, and maybe you should just disappear because there's no hope for you and God left you out of the master plan. Who can relate to that? And how did that voice even get there? I mean, the voice was there before you were ever there. The voice was there before you were even born. That radio station always existed. The mental dissonance of all the stories and all the hurts and all the wounds that ever existed throughout time. Just like your favorite radio station. When you were a kid, for me, it was 100.3, Z100. I grew up on the East Coast in New York. That station's always playing. But if I'm not tuned into it, is it playing? And the answer is yes. That station's always playing. And as soon as I tune into that megahertz frequency, guess what? I hear that radio station. Well, almost all of us as men are tuned into a frequency called, let me tell you how much of a loser you are. We're tuned into the radio station called, let me take you to Skull Island. Let me take you to the island where you'll have regret. Let me take you to the island where you'll be hard on yourself. Let me take you to the island where you'll beat yourself up, you'll beat yourself down, and you'll constantly and consistently remind yourself that you're not good enough. Well, if that radio station was always there, what else contributed to you feeling this way, to you thinking this way? And for many of us, sadly, it came from our parents. I mean, we know that our parents' job is to build us up, to help us feel like we're worthy, to help us feel like we're enough, to make us feel empowered, to help us be motivated, to give us inspiration, to remind us that we're leaders. But that's not what a lot of parents have done. I'm sure many of you have your own story about what it was like growing up for you. And I remember my brother growing up. He had a different mother than I did. And he consistently heard, you'll never amount to anything. You're going to end up going to Oshkosh University. You're a loser. You didn't do your homework. You're never going to get into a good college. You're never going to get good grades. You're never going to get a good job. You're going to be a doorman. You're going to be a cab driver. And I'm not putting anyone down that has that as a job. But he had a constant voice in his head that was trying to bring him down and tell him that he wasn't good enough. And it was so painful to witness. How many of you can relate to that? How many of you had a parent that rather than building you up was tearing you down? And how did that play out for my younger brother is he ended up putting on a lot of weight. He didn't know how to deal with the pain. He didn't know how to deal with the hurt. So he insulated himself. Like so many people that carry extra weight on their bodies, it's nothing more than a form of protection to try to get away from the pain. But what a sad thing to recognize that you have role models in your life. You have a mother, you have a father, you have friends that can build you up. How many of us are tearing one another down? So it's hard enough to tame our own minds. And then when you have people that you look up to, and the two people that you're most vulnerable with, a mother and a father. And yes, of course, my father did everything in his power to build my brother up. I did everything in my power to build my brother up. But the person that he was around the most was his mother. And due to her own ineptitudes, due to her own feelings of inadequacy, feeling like she failed in life, like so many parents, whether they're conscious of it or not, they project so much of their hurt and their pain onto their child, feeling like if my child can finally amount to what I couldn't amount to, then I'll finally feel like I'm enough. And the unbearable pressure that they put on that child, thinking that they're building them up when the reality is they're really tearing them down. What a painful thing for a young man, a young boy to go through. Because that programming is so hard to get to the other side of. The record that just keeps playing, that keeps reminding you that you're not good enough, you'll never amount to anything. That is so painful for a man. So what happens to all of us is that we end up feeling lost. We end up feeling like the fraud. We end up feeling like the imposters. And we go into what I call the forgetting. The forgetting is the opposite of the remembrance, because inside of Man on Fire, we are here to remind every man of how amazing he is, how phenomenal he is, how extraordinary he is, to remind him of his true potential, to empower him, to inspire him, and to bring him back, to bring him home to who he always was. Nobody is broken. Nobody needs to be fixed. But I promise you, we need to be reminded of who we really are, because we all go into the forgetting. We all get amnesia. And for some of us, that amnesia lasts a long time, and those imprints and those patterns are embedded inside of your nervous system, and you keep running that computer program, you keep running that computer software that's trying to tell you that you're not good enough. And no matter how many cool books you read, or you go to a seminar here, you go to a seminar there, and it temporarily cracks you open, and boom, you go back to the programming. You go back to the forgetting. You go back into the forgetting, and you can't remember that you're amazing. You can't remember that you're incredible. You can't remember what you were built for. You can't remember that it's okay to dream big. Muhammad Ali said, if your dreams don't scare the shit out of you, then they're not big enough. And as children, as little boys, we all dreamt, I want to be an astronaut, I want to be a cowboy, I want to be a doctor, I want to be a fireman. We had all of these dreams until the cruelty of the world broke us down. And sadly, for many of us, it was our parents. Maybe it was our friends that didn't want us to rise and felt that if you were to rise too high, then they'd feel small. So they grabbed at your ankles, or they sat on top of your hot air balloon. And this even happens in relationships, where there's a terror, there's a fear to lose somebody, that if they grow too much, they'll leave me behind. So we go into the forgetting. We forgot. We forgot to dream big. We forgot to have a grand vision for our life. We forgot that we were built for more. We forgot that our soul has been calling us into this standard. We forgot the bigness of who God made us to be. We go into the forgetting. And it's time to remember. It's time to wake up. It's time to rise. It's time to remember exactly who we are. I went through a very similar thing in my own life. I remember in school, for the most part, I was maybe a C+, B- student. The question is why? I mean, did I not have the smarts that somebody else had? No. I had some pretty deep programming as well, that I wasn't good enough, I wasn't smart enough, I wasn't as smart as the guy to my left or the person on my right. And these programs then show up. They show up in your grades, they show up in how you look at yourself, how you present yourself, how you dress. Maybe you dress a little bit more on the side of not dressing up, because there's some unconscious programming in there that says, well, I'm not worthy enough. I'm not worthy enough of looking good. I'm not worthy enough of feeling good. I'm not worthy enough of having it all. I remember when I graduated college, I didn't have any vision for my life. I had no idea what I wanted to do. And so the first thing that I did was I just went into sales, and I was selling photocopy machines. 1989 in New Jersey, selling photocopy machines. And I was good at it. I was one of the best in the company inside of the first year. But every day I would wake up with a feeling in my stomach, a pit, nausea, burning. The doctors call it ulcers. And they said, hey, you need to take medication. Looks like you have a family history of ulcers, and eventually maybe you'll need surgery. And I told the doctor I have a better idea. And I ended up quitting my job. And wouldn't you know, the next day, I woke up with absolutely no pain in my stomach. I knew what the pain was. The pain was informing me. It was a messenger. It was an angelic messenger. And too often we silence the messenger. Too often we take the pill, the potion, or the lotion, and we stuff down the messenger who had a powerful message to deliver to us. And that message that was getting delivered to me is, you're built for more. You're better than this. You're bigger than this. You weren't born every day to get up and sell photocopy machines to somebody else. And again, anyone out there in sales, especially if they sell photocopiers, please know I'm not putting you down. I'm not trying to bring you down. I'm just letting you know, for me, I know that I wasn't born to do that. And so my father had a conversation with me, and it truly changed the trajectory of my life. He sat me down and he said, listen, I don't want you to go from job to job to job like I did. I'd like you to find what you're truly passionate about. And for the next 6 months, you can live under your mother's roof, because at the time my parents were not together. My father moved out when I was 13 years old. So getting back to the story of what I'm sharing is that my father ended up saying, you can live under your mother's roof for the next 6 months. And you have to get out of the house by 9 a.m. You can come home at 5 p.m. And during that time, I want you to go discover, what are you passionate about? What would light you up? What would motivate you? What would empower you to want to get up every day? What would put a smile on your face? What would bring you joy? What would bring you happiness? What would bring you fulfillment? And so I started writing down a bunch of things. And a lot of the things that I was writing down were like physical therapy, chiropractic, acupuncture, massage, psychiatrist, psychologist, orthopedic medicine. I wrote down all these things, and next thing you know, I started visiting all these different doctors and started spending time with them. And I noticed that every time I would visit a chiropractor, they were joyous, they were happy, they loved taking care of their patients. They helped their patients feel better physically, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. And I knew in that moment that I wanted to go off to chiropractic school. And then I had this problem where, oh my God, I hadn't taken any of the prerequisite courses to get into chiropractic school, because in university, when I went to SUNY Albany in college, I majored in economics and I minored in sociology. So I had no classes that I needed in order to get into chiropractic school. So next thing you know, I did 6 months of accelerated courses with physics and organic chemistry and inorganic chemistry. And I'm turning in A's, and my father's like, who the hell is this? Like, what about that kid in college that was getting B minuses and C pluses? Like, who's this guy that's getting A's? I had started to wake up. I had started to go past the forgetting. I started to feel the motivation. I started to feel the empowerment. I started to remember who I was. I started to hang out with different people. I started to listen to people that would motivate me, that would empower me, that would inspire me, that would bring me into a higher vibrational frequency, a higher range, and start to really bring me into the remembrance. I was blessed to have had mentors, peers, and hanging out with people that would help me rise and not go back into the forgetting. And this is so necessary for us as men. It's so needed. Who we hang out with matters, right? For those of you that watched the movie Good Will Hunting, that kid was a genius. And he was hanging out with his friends who were great people, and they'd fight for each other and they would protect each other, and everyone needs friends like that. But his friends weren't elevating him. His friends weren't helping him step into the bigness of who God made him to be. And for those of you that watched that movie, Good Will Hunting, what a beautiful, beautiful scene when Ben Affleck was looking inside the apartment of Matt Damon. And next thing you know, he realizes he moved out. And he had this beautiful smile on his face. Even though he was sad that his best friend left, he was happy for him. Why? Because he knew that he was built for more. Hey guys, this channel and conversation around manhood grows based upon your help and your support. Now, if you like what you're seeing and hearing, then hit that like button and subscribe to the channel and click the notification bell so you'll know the next episode has dropped. Thanks again for all of your support. Now let's get back to the episode. Our peer group matters. Who we hang out with matters. The voices that we're listening to when we're letting through the defense system matters. Are you being challenged? Are you being pushed? Are you being stretched? Are you being held accountable? Are you being held to the fire to rise into the man that you were born to be? Or are you hanging out in environments that are bringing you down? Are you hanging out in environments that are comfortable? One of the great addictions of men, a life of complacency, right? Where the best of the worst meet the worst of the best. We all know the totem pole is most crowded at the bottom. We all know that some of us can get hooked on complacency, fair, good, average, okay, bland, ordinary. No. None of you were built for ordinary. All of you, as a remembrance, to come out of the forgetting, all of you were built to remember exactly who you are. And sometimes it really takes hanging around people that won't tolerate you playing small, that will hold you to the bigness, that will hold you to the fire of exactly who you are. So this message is for the men out there to let you know that it's not uncommon for us to feel lost. It's not uncommon for us to feel like imposters, to feel like a fake, to feel like a fraud, to feel like a phony. And the invitation that I always have for men is please don't be hard on yourself. Don't punish yourself. Don't be another person that wants to bring yourself down. There are plenty of people, from our parents to ex-friends to strangers, that would love to bring you down. I would love to remind you that you're not enough. Don't add to that list. Be kind to yourself. Be gentle with yourself. Be compassionate with yourself. Have empathy for yourself and extend yourself some grace. Does that mean that you should hide from the bigness of who you are? Hell no. But don't be another person that believes those stories, because they're just stories. They got embedded deep into your psyche, and you have the power to rise above those stories. You have the power to come back into the remembrance. You have the power to rise into the fullness of your potential. And I want you to know that I see you. I know who you are, and I know what you're capable of. You are an extraordinary man. You are a phenomenal man, and you are here to do great things in this world. Don't be afraid of the bigness of who you are. Don't be afraid of your light. And don't be afraid to get up when you fall. Don't be afraid to rise. It's who you are. You were born with courage. You were born with drive. You were born with hunger. And it's time to wake up to this remembrance. You got this, men. We got this. Together we rise. So my question for you is, do you feel lost? Do you feel like an imposter? Do you feel like a fake or a fraud or a phony? And if so, what are you prepared to do about it? Because all of us feel that way at some point in time. All of us at some point in time have lacked integrity, have hurt ourselves, have hurt others. And some of us will stay down, a victim to that, and we will hide, and we will shrink, and we will contract, and we will play small. And as I tell all the men in my community, the things you've done in the past do not define you. Good people do bad things. All of us have hurt other people, whether it's through intention or was unintentionally. That is not what defines you, but it is an invitation to be refined. It is an invitation to get back up. It is an invitation to have the courage to now show the real you to the world. So who do you see when you look into the mirror? And are you ready and are you willing to see the real you? Are you ready to snap out of the forgetting? Are you ready to stand and step into the remembrance? On behalf of Man on Fire and all of our team and all of our brothers, please know we see you, we love you, and we're gonna hold you accountable to the real version of who you came here to be. So much love, guys. If you like what you're seeing and hearing, then hit that like button and subscribe to the channel and click the notification bell so you'll know the next episode has dropped.